Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Beneath the Surface, an A&G Concrete Pools podcast. As always, I'm your host, Luke Hannon, and today I have the privilege of being joined by Shannon Glendenning, Director of Development for the Humane Society of St. Lucie County, and Nukhet Hendricks, the Executive Director of the Humane Society of St. Lucie County. How are you guys doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. It's a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday afternoon. So it's great to have you guys here. I am so happy that now the fact that you've been neighbors to A&G all this time and we haven't had you on your show feels like a crime, but I'm glad that I'm rectifying that today. You have so many great events coming up, so many great programs. I'm excited to dive into all of them and all the work that you guys do. But I want to begin at the beginning for both of you individually and what that kind of journey looks like from maybe when you moved to the area, if you've been lifelong to the area, then particularly how you come in contact with the Humane Society and what your work like is there.
Thank you for this opportunity to be here. Look, we appreciate that. My work with the animal shelter started when I went into nonprofit administration. I have three missions that I really believe in: children, animals, and women. When the local animal shelter decided that they need an administrator to ensure that the shelter can stand the challenges of the time and financially be viable so many years down the road, and that will be smart to bring in a administrator to tend to the business side of the shelter as well as everything else. I was lucky enough to be able to have that honor to serve that organization for 13 years. I looked at it as animals, children, and women, because animals brought people and children together, humans, the families, and it was a perfect setup for 13 years, which was in North Dakota, North Dakota, which brought me to Florida for another rescue, and then brought me to Humane Society of St. Lucie County. So I feel privileged and I feel very lucky to be serving the animals of this community.
Wonderful. Shannon, what about yourself?
So mine started when I moved here right around COVID, and I started work at a managed service provider. They were looking for someone to do their marketing, and they seemed almost hesitant about marketing, and then they realized how great it was, and they ended up offering that as one of their managed services. So I was able to outsource to bring in more clients or to offer it to their existing clients. And over time, built up their client base for marketing specifically. And the Humane Society of St. Lucie County actually became one of my clients. And firsthand, I got to see the impact that they were making, the little stories that they would tell me, and just to see the heart of the people who worked there was all incredible. And I felt like an outsider, but I remember telling my team that I thought I would just be the happiest person if I ever could have the Humane Society as my only client. And when my time came to part ways with that company, the executive director at the time offered me a full-time position at the Humane Society. And I, like Nukhet said, felt so lucky and privileged to be chosen for that. And the rest is history.
Well, it's an amazing thing to have you both as a part of the organization, and the relationship that we've had during my tenure at A&G has been nothing but exceptional. And you guys came with what I would describe as really a renewed focus, particularly on the Blue Jean Ball, which I'm sure we'll discuss, but approaching these things with kind of the partnership in mind, as opposed to a single instance of asking. And I know, Shan, that was the ethos from when you first started with Humane Society and when you first interacted with A&G. But having that as a core focus, I think, is so important, because you have countless philanthropic organizations out there with amazing causes. But when we talk about the longevity that you're describing to outlast all of us, to be something that can provide for the community for generations to come, it's just so important to have those key partners and to have people who are great stewards of what you do and the work that you do, but also allow you to be stewards of their brand and their company as well. So what was that relationship like when you were first building it with A&G, Shannon, and then Nukhet, when you came in later on? What were the things you noticed, and where did you think you could take it from there?
I can start with what I saw when I first started about 5 years ago was a commitment from A&G that was beyond incredible. The executive director at the time spoke so highly of this company, of the work that you guys were doing to support the Humane Society of St. Lucie County, and obviously helped launch different things for the Humane Society, but keeping it kind of like focused on how we went from there to where we are today, I think has a lot to do with Nukhet. And so if you want to build on how relational it's really become, and more proactive versus reactive, which is a notion in animal welfare that everything we do is reactive, whereas for the first time we're really being proactive in everything we do, and because of the relationships that we have in the community.
The hardest thing for a new executive director is to build relationships. But I was so lucky and so privileged. I came to relationships that were already built, and they were so good relationships. My responsibility, first and foremost, was to make sure that those relationships continued. And number two, to take it up a notch, to create an environment and a culture that when you partner with us, when you invest in our animals, you are going to be our partner. We are going to do this work together. It may be your dollars coming in, but you are working with us to make life better for those animals, providing them resources, helping us put them in homes. So I had three things in mind. Number one, make sure that those relationships are not compromised because I'm here. Number two, those not only compromise but take it up a notch and strengthen and create a culture where people, donors, organizations feel good investing in us. So those three components, or the belief, what drives me, we compete among ourselves or against ourselves, not anyone else. We just want to do better with our donors, our partners, 1% better every day.
Well, and as someone on the other side of that coin and being able to experience it, I think you guys are both leading the charge in an incredible way. And the changes that have been felt, even in an event like the Blue Jean Ball, which is only one night, but it is an amazing evening. Those are things that don't go unnoticed. And on behalf of A&G, I'd like to thank you both for the work that you do there. But let's talk about that night itself. It's coming up again, not too long from now.
Yes.
It is, as I understand it, the 70th anniversary of the Humane Society, which is just incredible in itself. Talk about what that night does for not only the organization, but what it means to the animals.
So the night itself is coming up so fast. It's March 7th, and we are going to be celebrating 70 years of making an impact on animals right here in our community. It honestly, just the night itself kind of brings me chills because it brings together, I think, the most incredible humans. That room is full of so much love and support of animals. It's the most beautiful thing, and it's bringing all those people together for a fun, high-energy night. We have a casino. We have so many different ways for people to enjoy themselves while making such a lasting impact. Nukhet always says it, yes, we've been here for 70 years, but we want to be here for the next 70. And nights like the Blue Jean Ball help make that possible.
I want to build on that. An organization to be around for 70 years is a big success in and of itself. However, for an organization that is willing to reinvent itself over and over and over is amazing. And this organization has done that. And here we are. I'm lucky enough to be a part of the 70-year celebration. I look at our organization, and the only thing I can think of is determination. This organization has solid determination, belief in the work that they do, that they are willing to invent themselves and get where they are. I have complete faith that it is going to be another 70 and 70 years after. Our job as people working and doing the work is to make sure that that happens, that we put the foundation in place for the next 70 years to build, because this organization has everything that it takes to succeed and continue beyond all of us.
Well, let's talk about that foundation itself, because I know we've had conversations before in our meetings and personally of the importance of building these kind of resources for individuals, not only the physical items for the animals and making sure that there's shelter and food and those things, but developing this sort of education, particularly for the youth of our community, to understand what the relationship's like, not only with their own animals, but with wild animals, with the animals of the community itself, with strays. How important is it in your mind to make sure that people have the right context and the right information, so if they see something, they can act accordingly, or they can find that pet that's always been out there for them, just waiting to meet them?
First and foremost, I think our goal is not just be an adoption center where you find your best animal, but it is also a place where you get to learn about the animals. It is also a place where the children can come and learn about the animals. It is also a place children can come and read. Have you heard that what a child can read when they are reading to an animal, because there is no feedback other than love or a kitty curling up on their lap, or there's no criticism? It helps them read better. It helps them to be able to speak better. There are animals with working with therapists to help children to tell their stories. So imagine the bond, to give them that opportunity so that they can come and read. A center where they can feel free to come and learn. Summer camps where they can learn how to take care of the animals the right way, the importance of spay and neuter, why animal shelter is necessary, why animals are, or just to see firsthand that animals are being loved to pieces, not just forgotten in a shelter. So we want to see a place where people call it is their home for the animals, for them to come and see. It is a place that is open, inviting, and loving for everyone involved, human and the animals. That's what we say, we bring them all together. This is the future of the animal sheltering. This is how we should be doing it. We should be doing it as a community, not just the responsibility of the animals. So when you invest your dollars in these animals and in this mission, you want to see the results. And the results are better educated young children who knows how to take care of the animals, children who are involved in the care of the animals, whether they are reading or playing with the children, families more informed, adopting rather than buying, and understanding that why we need to do the work we do.
Yeah, what Nukhet said, it's a place for pets and the people who love them, to be a community resource. Some of the things she mentioned, like our Kids to Kitties reading program, it's on the surface looks so simple. It's kids coming to our shelter, grabbing a pillow and a blanket and a book, and going into one of our cat rooms and just reading to our cats. But the impact is so much deeper. It's kids learning confidence while reading. It's cats getting that socialization that they need, building confident cats who trust kids, and teaching kids empathy and that love for the animals. It's so twofold. And beneficial for everybody. It makes such a difference.
Now, I had the opportunity quite recently to tour what will be the new cat rooms in the new facility there, and that was, I think, as you alluded to, Nukhet, I think there is a certain kind of stigma with what a shelter is, and I think that this new building in particular, your facility as a whole does a great job, but this redesign has been something that I think is really going to help break down that wall. It's a space that's so inviting, it's so well lit, and that the animals are sort of able to move around in a way that they haven't before. How important is that new space, and what do you guys see the impact of it being going forward?
First and foremost, the cat building is going to be a dedicated cat building just for the cat. As you saw, the rooms are nice and big and bright. So for the first time ever, right, the cats will have their own building. So we are excited about that. Additional space for our dogs that will give us increase our capacity for us to be able to have more animals because our community is growing. I think this is the first step in the direction of our shelter growing, becoming a center rather than just an animal shelter. Because when I looked at all the designs, when they first built the building that we are in, that was their dream, to be a center, to have different buildings and become a animal welfare center rather than just a place where the animals go, but it's a place where the animals, pets and people come together, taken care of, and then they go home. So the future is that as we grow, our community grows, our buildings are going to grow. It will be inviting for people to come and visit the animals, have more opportunities to interact with the animals. That's the whole goal.
I'm going to build on that a little bit.
Sure.
So, in case you didn't know, or whoever's listening, we are an open admission shelter. So we take in pets from the City of Port St. Lucie Animal Control, and pets, if you haven't noticed, everyone's building in Port St. Lucie. And this is definitely an initiative to keep up with the growth here, because as the growth of people comes, the bigger the need for animal sheltering. We can't say no to pets coming in. They come in whether we have space or not. So this was a plan to keep up with that. And the most amazing thing about this building is our current capacity for cats is about 38. And with this new building, we're going to house up to 100, which is so amazing. That's so much more life-saving that we're going to be doing. And she mentioned that it's their own building. That means they're never going to hear the sound of a barking dog again. Kids are going to get to go and be in a serene place where they get to read to the cats. Our summer camp kids will get to go in there and spend time socializing the cats. It's going to be such a step forward for life-saving right here in our community.
And I imagine that even in their current forms, these programs that you're describing in the buildings, there are so many stories to come out of it. I can't imagine what news stories will come from this new building, but in your minds, are there certain moments, or there certain stories perhaps from those programs or just in your time there that stick out to you as kind of the true ethos of what the Humane Society is about, and the impact that not only you as an organization can have on the animals, but that animals can have on individuals in life?
So, like Nukhet mentioned earlier, being proactive is so important, and education is so important to us. It's the future and how we're going to make a difference, not only for the pets today, but for the pets tomorrow. And our summer camp has been a huge, huge part of that. And it helped impact over 80 kids this past summer. And they came in, and every week they just brought so much joy, and they learned so much. And you had already mentioned the importance of spay and neuter, microchipping, the importance of adoption, what an animal shelter serves as, what we do, and they come leaving so inspired. I remember it was a Friday afternoon. I was walking through the lobby, and this little girl was running to her car. It was the end of summer camp that day, and dragging her parents inside because she had made a new best friend. And I thought it was going to be one of the other summer camp kids. And it was actually a cat that she had met while she was at camp that week. And she had to tell her parents all about the coolest cat. And they ended up leaving with that cat. So it was, in that time too, she just shared different things that she had learned about the summer camp. So not only did that little girl learn about all these really important things about animals and animal welfare, but she brought that same knowledge to her family. And not only that, but now they have given a loving home to this cat who was with us, and it was just like a beautiful full circle moment.
Yeah. So many stories, not enough time.
Well, I am curious if you guys wouldn't mind sharing, because I know it is the case for both of you, but your own stories with animals. I will be the first to admit that the notion of the connection and the feelings and the empathy and just the emotions that these animals bring out in you was something that was kind of lost on me. And now to have them in my life is just really shifted my perspective. You two seem like animal people. You probably started off in a far more positive place than I, but I have to imagine with your own pets, there have to be just so many amazing moments. Is there one that comes to mind for you, Nukhet?
I didn't grow up with pets. And like I said, I was raised to have respect for all living beings, but I didn't have pets. I'm originally from Turkey, so it wasn't a thing at the time. Our pets were either in the farms or not in the homes. So when I moved to United States and I was living out of town in the country, my neighbors convinced me that I should have cats, and that put them in the garage so that they catch the mice and doesn't come into my home. Well, my little two cats, Willie and Polly, came in the leather jacket of a neighbor who was on a loud motorcycle, and then produced two little kittens scared out of their minds. Of course, they needed to come into the house, not to the garage, and they never left. So if there was a mice, I don't remember, but they couldn't. And then Hobo showed up and in the garage, so Hobo joined to the mix, and then Roscoe came in, and then Kiki came in. So before I know it, was a 4 cats and a dog household. Every one of them brought incredible joys and taught me so much. I think the hardest part was not being able to spend enough time with them because I was working long hours. When I started losing them one by one, I think it was extremely hard. Right now, I will say I will have about 100 pets that are always on my mind, shelter full of them. But our lifestyles become such a way that it will be irresponsible for us as a family to have animals. My husband worked long hours. I'm commuting once a week. And so what I'm looking at is am going to enjoy the animals I'm serving at the shelter. And when the time comes, I'm going to have them again when I know I'm stable, that I can spend time with them. I can take my dog out for a walk so they don't sit at home alone. So in a way, I'm just taking a little break. But as I said, I have hundreds animals in the shelter. So that's my story.
So I actually came from a cat household, 100%. We had like 5 cats. And I do remember, I have to put this in there, but I was 5 or 6 years old, I think. And it came time to where my parents finally let me pick out a cat for our family. And actually, they brought me to the Humane Society of St. Lucie County to pick out my first pet.
Oh, that's sweet.
And I remember just picking, I thought it was the cutest thing that this cat was like biting my finger through the cage. I don't know why. And I brought it home. This cat terrorized me.
Oh, no.
It would chase me around the house, but we all loved it. And she had such a long, amazing life. But I think there's always just been like little stories like that throughout my life. And when I lived on my own in college, ironically, I didn't remember these stories until I got into animal welfare, and then all my friends from my life have been like, remember when you used to do that? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was destined. But in college, the typical cat redistribution system picked me, and I went to start my car one day. It was snowing, and there was a cat under my hood. And the next thing I know, I'm giving this cat a bath, and the cat is now mine. And then like 2 years later, there was a kitten hit by a car on the side of the road, and that cat also joined my family. And then I got my heart dog, and then that's when I kind of had my first dog and changed me. I'm definitely now a dog person. I love both, but he was such a special dog. And he was named Rocky because he was found in a cave eating rocks.
Oh.
But he came into my life and just changed it. I wanted to do everything for him. He wasn't the easiest dog to adopt, and I think when you have a dog like that, you love them so much and want everything for them, and you're so understanding of what they went through and how they didn't have a voice, but now I'm going to be his voice. And
I think that's the bottom line. Our goal is to be the voice for those who doesn't have their own.
It's such a great way of articulating it. I mean, both literally as animals, but also as kind of members of the community in a lot of ways that I do think get placed as an afterthought. And you guys make sure to kind of speak up on their behalf and make sure that the resources are available, that the education is available. A final question I would love to ask you. We've talked a lot about the history, about the past, about kind of what the aspirations are for the future. What do you see coming down the line, maybe in the next 3 or the next 5 years, that's going to be kind of the next big change? Is it something in what you described earlier as kind of transitioning into an animal welfare center as opposed to a shelter? Is there something that is holistically affecting animal shelters throughout the nation that you see as a kind of big problem to be addressed? What comes to mind first for you when you think of those next 5 years?
Animal welfare, I would say nonprofit field is so fluid. To be able to tell you what's going to happen 5 years from today is going to be not fair only because what I found in all these years in nonprofits that survive are the nonprofits that can pivot with times.
Mm-hmm.
I think that our right now my focus as the ED of this organization is to ensure that we have all the resources to take care of our animals in our community. We are fortunate. We do get fee-for-services brought to us by the animal center, by the animal control, and the fee-for-services are paid for the city of Port St. Lucie. But we do so much in addition to just taking care of those animals. Therefore, we need to raise funds. I want to see our organization as an organization that the public and the community is willing to invest in, that we become one of the charity of choice in our community, that people are willing to invest in what we do because they trust the work we do and they trust the people who are doing it. An organization needs to be financially viable to be able to continue the work that they are doing, and therefore we will continue our good work to make sure that we are good stewardesses of the money we are trusted with. So I want to see our organization to continue to stay solid financially and prove show the community that the work we do matters and that they can trust us to take care of these animals that are entrusted to our care. 5 years down the road, if I had the magic wand to be able to say this is what we will do, which I hope we do, but more animals are spayed and neutered, that we are able to provide more services to our community, so that animals are kept at home more, they are able to keep it at home, and that spay and neuter becomes that something everybody believes in. We have more educational services, and we are able to provide an environment in which both people and the pets thrive. There is an organization called Florida Leaders in Life Saving. It's a Florida-wide committee that brings the leaders of the animal welfare community together. We are all working to help each other and our community and other shelters and rescues in our community to introduce the best practices in animal welfare, best practices in sheltering and administration. So with the help of the resources that they are providing and the education that they are providing, I think that we are going to take giant steps towards best practices animal sheltering, providing the best that we can to animals in our communities.
I think, echoing all of it, but one of the biggest concerns hitting animal shelters, not us specifically, but across the whole country, is that there seems to be limited resources and an infinite number of pets that need help. Whether that pet needing help means us supporting their family, whatever it is. But going back to the Humane Society of St. Lucie County wants to be a place for pets, but also for the people who love them. And I think continuing to build on the proactive approaches we have too, for instance, like our Positive Pet Pantry that gives out over 100,000 meals to pets in our community. That last year kept 1,000 pets out of our shelter and other local shelters right here in our county. Our emergency medical fund to help pets when they face medical situations, and if it's the decision between someone surrendering their pet to us or having to put their pet down, we want to help keep the pet in that loving home. So I think all of those proactive approaches is just helping animal welfare as a whole and changing our little tiny corner of the world, yes, one pet at a time, and making better tomorrows for pets here.
I appreciate you both coming by and sharing all this wonderful information today. It's something that I just don't think will ever get enough airplay for however many views or however many people listen in, and I hope it's countless, but the work that you guys do is so fantastic and so integral to what this community is in a lot of ways, and I know on behalf of both A&G and pet owners everywhere, we thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Beneath the Surface with Shannon and Nukhet. It is lovely to have them here and to have that conversation with them. The work that they do and that all of the Humane Society does is amazing For those interested in the Blue Jean Ball, it is taking place March 7th. You can find tickets available on their website. That is hsslc.org.
.org.
And if you'd like to watch any of Beneath the Surface Backlog, any of Season 1, or our premiere episode of Season 2 with Josh Stepling of TreasureCoast.com, feel free to do so wherever you get your podcasts, whether that be YouTube, Spotify, Audible, or Amazon. And we'll see you next time.